Hey guys, Sam here from Landscapeplus. Today we are going to be taking a look at the world of micro irrigation. First and foremost, here at Landscapeplus, anything micro irrigation we would class as anything that you can feed from one of these. This is a 4mm micro irrigation pipe. Now typically this would be a tap-based system, not always, but typically it would be running on an LDPE pipe. So you would come from your tap, through a tap splitter, onto a timer, then onto this, a low density polyethylene. Once that's run around the garden, we would supply one of these little yellow key punch. They are bright yellow because they are really easy to lose otherwise within the garden. Now all you're gonna do with the sharp part of this here is punch a hole into your LDPE pipe. Then you've got a 4mm barbed joiner. A little tip for you there, if you put the barb joiner into the little sort of gap within the key punch, it stops it hurting your hands when you're doing loads of these within a day, and then you give it a good push into the pipe there. So that's then sealed into the pipe. The barb's going to stop it coming out when water comes through this pipe. And then you go onto your 4mm pipe, just pushing it over the top of that barb, and that can go into your container, into your border, wherever it needs to go. So now we have showed you how to connect your 4mm irrigation pipe to the LDPE pipe that will be running around the garden. Now before we go into the options of what you can pop on the end of this, there are some options for 4mm fittings that I just want to show you. You might not be able to see these too well, so we'll get a close-up done. You get T-joints, stop valves, little end plugs there. Those are great. If you ever need to remove the 4mm pipe from the LDPE pipe, you can use these to plug the hole that the 4mm joiner has created in the LDPE pipe. So when you're looking at micro drippers, the first difference that you would see is these ones here, we have pressure compensating. So the top of these doesn't twist to change the flow. They've got a small disc in them that allows the same amount of water out of all of those if you have them in line. So really great for even watering. With these ones, these are adjustable. So you can twist the top of those, it'll open and close the flow. People often call these spider drippers because when you open them up, it comes out looking like the legs of a spider. Now you'll notice here that we have got an in-line and an end line. That is for if you wanted to daisy chain these together within a pot or a container, and then you have one of the end line ones there to cap the end of your run. A couple of other options that you have got here is the pot stream. We don't use these very often, if I'm completely honest, but I think they're a really great product. They're designed to sneak into the side of a pot. The water then fans out of one side, so you can take your pipe work down the side of a pot. Great if you're only going to be looking at that pot or container from one direction. And then the last one I've got here is this is pressure compensating, but also available adjustable, is a dripper without the spike. So these are great for punching straight into your 13 or 19mm LDPE pipe. It's essentially turning your LDPE pipe into a drip line. And one quick tip before we go on to the next part, if you're using these ones, a good way to disguise the pipe is to take the pipe up through the drainage hole on the bottom of the pot, straight into your sprinkler so you don't see it at all. So the next option when it comes to micro irrigation is micro border sprinklers. So the setup would be exactly the same as we've said before. LDPE pipe around the garden, 4mm pipe off of the LDPE pipe with one of your little 4mm barb joiners into the border or bed. Now, we've got three options here. There are a few variations that we're going to cover. The first and probably the most common for us is a micro 180. So this one has got a little adjustment valve on the top of there to open and close the flow to get your distance greater or smaller. This one will do a maximum, I think it's of 1.5 meters. Really good for sneaking along the edge of a border. The next one we've got here is a micro 360. Now these for me are space fillers. So if you've got a bed and you've got certain dry spots within it, these will go into there. They'll only do up to a 0.5 meter radius. They're not going to throw water a huge distance, but you can raise them up as you need to. And then the last one is the mini 360. So a spinner, as we would describe it, that part there spins around, gives you up to a massive 4 meter radius. But when you spike those into the ground, they're going to be quite low down. So you're not going to get a huge amount of throw over the top of plants. And when it comes to throwing over the top of plants, you've got a couple of options. We do a variation of this on a 1 meter metal rod. Downside being you're going to see it more, it'll be more visible, but it's going to get better coverage because you'll throw over the top of plants. Or you can go to your 180s. We've got a couple of options here, 300mm riser and a 450mm riser. You'd be amazed how quickly you need a 450mm riser to get over the top of your planting as it matures. But spiking that into the ground a good 200mm, you still get a really good distance above ground to cover your planting. So to summarize micro irrigation, we're going to look at some pros and cons of a micro border sprinkler system. So the first for me, It's quite a cost-effective system. If you look at putting in micro sprinklers, you can get quite a big coverage. We have just looked, and off of one of these on a 4-meter radius, you can get over 50 square meters of coverage. Also, the speed of installation, once you've got that main LDPE pipe run around, connecting these up, popping them into the ground, checking your coverage is really quite quick. On the coverage side of things, you really don't need a huge amount of pressure or flow to cover quite a big area. I've got a system very similar to these in my own garden, and I can be a proven test of that. I keep adding to the system. It is still working. And one thing on that, as I'm adding to that system, it's a really easy system to add to, retrofit, remove some, cap some, open and close the flow. It can really adapt as the garden matures. So looking at some potential cons why you might not choose this system, they are airborne irrigation. So you are going to get an element of misting, especially if you've got a high pressure. As the water goes into the air, it can mist and not necessarily get to where it needs to go to. They aren't normally used in hosepipe bans. So as soon as a hosepipe ban comes in, you might still be able to use your tech line because it's direct to root watering. However, with this one, often not. And it is visible. It's going to be above ground. You will see it. Obviously, as the garden grows, you might get plants that are stopping it getting complete coverage of the bed or border that it's within. So it will be visible. To summarize, if you spoke to someone that's going to be working in that garden, or if you yourself are going to be maintaining the garden, this is the system I'd be going for. With a drip line, you're going to be forever trying to mist the pipes, going through the pipes, maintaining it, fixing it. For these, especially if you can get these on the edge of a border, nothing within that bed that can go wrong. Hopefully my rambling has given you an overview of micro irrigation. As always, if you've got any questions that I haven't answered, please do give our team a call.